Greetings! Today's video will show you why a lot of your quick passing plays in FIFA aren't working even if they seem wide open. It's no secret that like many aspects of FIFA, the passing system has left a lot to be desired for too many years, from passing assistance to impossible trajectories or 180-degree passes working to the simplest of passes failing. The entire thing has been a complete mess for years. While the symptoms change every year, at the base of it all is one simple objective: make the game, make FIFA as accessible and easy as possible for everyone. There's always a bit of an exception here and there to the rule, but for the most part, it makes sense. FIFA is not made to be a game where good and bad decisions lead to the correct outcomes. FIFA is instead a game where you have to play off of the randomness. You adapt to yearly inconsistencies. What happens in this clip is the foundation to why FIFA 22 might be the hardest game to make logical, quick, wide open passes work, particularly in the final third. When I have the ball with my Maldini, all I'm thinking about here is to pass forward, and I have two wide open options. However, I opt for this one. Although my opponent is nearby, he's basically on the ground and there's enough space between us to make this a clear passing opportunity with basically no threat. You can also tell by my aim the idea I had to pass in this general direction because that's where the receiver was when I started passing. What actually happens though is that I lose the ball as the game decides it was a better idea to pass this way to the right. Now, this isn't entirely a manual versus assisted passing issue. I know this always comes up with these videos, but please, I just wouldn't waste my energy on that because the issues are elsewhere. The reason combination plays are impossible despite wide open passing lanes is because simple ground passes don't go in a straight logical line to the feet of the receiver. Instead, the game creates trajectories where regardless of whether you as the user play a ground pass or a through ball, your player will always play the pass into the path of your receiver. At that point, there are many instances where without seeing a player's controller, you actually wouldn't be able to prove or tell if a user opted for a ground pass or a through ball. Both can and will be played to the path of the receiver at the game's will. A ground pass isn't necessarily going to be played at his feet, which is what should be happening. That's where in the proper game there would be a little bit of an element of choosing the right pass for every situation. So in this specific example, because the receiver is shuffling to the right side, with how FIFA works, my aim is only a tool to tell the game, hey, I want this to be the receiver. The game does the rest. Regardless of whether you press the ground pass or the through pass, the game will pass into the path of a player. You don't have the control of whether you're going to pass to his feet. So what's the solution? Manual controls. Like I said, it's an overkill solution that A, doesn't solve the issue I'm actually talking about, and B, ignores the fact that this hasn't always been an issue from the beginning of football games. So to claim that this is the only and best solution would be to deny that we were in actually a better place previously. Is then the solution to have better offensive AI? Because if passes get played into the path, the solution here would be to not have my receiver be making such a stupid movement in a pocket of space that doesn't make sense, right? Because after all, if he was never shuffling to the right, which makes no sense, the pocket of space was already where he was, then the pass never gets assisted there, right? Now, don't get me wrong, better offensive AI is needed, and it would have helped in this specific situation, but it's not enough. Not only because that still wouldn't solve the problem that there isn't enough of a distinction between a ground pass and a through ball for many types of passes, but also because at the end of the day, passing has got to be reworked from the ground up. Until that happens, until passing is revolutionized from the ground up, situations like these will keep happening where you get to the edge of the box, you have the opportunity to do a quick first time or, after a touch, whatever you like, a pass into your striker, which can then be the beginning of another first time pass to your other striker, or not. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, because rather than a ground pass being played into my striker's feet, you get these weird hybrid through balls that try to bridge the gap between a ground pass and a through pass. The more I look at these examples, the more I am astonished at the fact that it doesn't work. All of a sudden, simple, open, linear trajectories that allow you to speed up your gameplay don't work. But I guess that's why everyone wiggles to no end, skill cancels and elasticos and reverse elasticos, because how can you pass when you are constantly deceived time and time again. I think at this point it's obvious passing needs to be redone, reworked, revolutionized completely, but let's be honest, it's not going to happen. Because if it were to happen, then all of a sudden you have ground passes actually behaving like ground passes, you have through balls actually behaving like through balls. The skill gap is too big. It's too big for everyone now all of a sudden, and now all of a sudden people are struggling and they're like, oh no, I have to decide which pass I have to do. The game can't do everything for me instead. And at the same time, those who can differentiate between the two situations and do that on the fly are going to be way too good to deal with. So my advice to you is that if you see an open pass, remember, it might not actually be open. And if you see a closed off pass, remember, it actually might be open.